بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبا القاسم أبا الزهراء محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode on the After Maghrib podcast. It's been a number of weeks since I last sat on this chair, so I miss our conversations and I truly am excited to be here today. If you haven't subscribed already, smash that subscribe button in love of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he's a personality that we are gonna, inshallah, explore on today's discussion. Now, before I begin, as always, I can't have these conversations alone. I'm joined by a backbone on this episode, and every episode in fact, a partner in my ziyarah, in my recent Arba'een ziyarah that we did in Karbala, and that's none other than my amazing co-host, Ahmed Gokul. Assalamu alaikum.
Habibi.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. شلونك؟
الحمد لله والشكر.
شخبارك؟
الحمد لله زين.
عاش من شافك.
حبيبي.
هلا بيهم.
How are you doing?
هلا بزوارك السجاد.
تسمع عراقي now.
Yeah. شلونك؟
How you doing, bro?
الحمد لله.
Milad al-Nabi Mubarak.
Yes.
To you and to everyone at home.
أيامك.
It's been like a really emotional few weeks, months, and now we are in the month of Rabi al-Awwal, and we are at the time of release. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it will be a couple of days before Milad al-Nabi, inshallah, which of course for the Ahl Shia are celebrating on the 17th, but the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah celebrate on the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal. But of course, for all Muslims around the world, this is a week of celebration, a week of joy, a week of veneration, and really, yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to get more into the life and the honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Inshallah, indeed, you're absolutely right. And you know, just not long ago we were commemorating his death.
Yes.
And now, inshallah, we'll be celebrating his birth. And you know, being Rabi' al-Awwal, we've come out from the months of Muharram, come out from the sorrowful months of Safar as well. I'm excited to not wear black today. Like, I feel different. I actually feel happy. Like, it's changed my mood. I'm looking forward to celebrating the auspicious occasions of the Ahlulbayt.
What do you do on Milad al-Nabi? I probably asked you this last year.
I definitely don't have a Christmas tree.
Why would you have a Christmas tree?
Bro, I've seen like a new trend with people celebrating Mawlid al-Nabi where they actually bring trees.
No way.
They don't call it a Christmas tree, but I think it's the same.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Where have you seen that?
On Instagram.
Oh my God. That's definitely new.
What do you think about that?
I think that's bid'ah.
Bid'ah.
No, I've never heard of that, man.
No, and ultimately I think
it's
it's a joyous occasion. It's a joyous day.
Like the sentiment makes sense of doing something which brings the family together. It's the happiest, arguably one of the happiest occasions in the Islamic calendar. And I understand, especially for Western Muslims, like in a world where Christmas is like such a big deal and you want to put something in your home and get the family to celebrate together. I get it. Like, I get where it comes from, but it's not got a tradition to it, has it?
No, of
course.
History. But mainly, I think for me, since I was a little kid, like, it has to be, you go to the mosque, you go to the masjid, you go to the Husayniyah, and bro, you just celebrate.
Yeah.
You celebrate his life. You celebrate the rahmah that Allah instilled on this earth. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Habib, he's not like an ordinary individual.
Yeah.
He's not some random guy or someone who can be compared with any living man on this earth, because you know, we know him as rahmatun lil alameen, the mercy to mankind. Sahih, the seal of prophethood, chosen by Allah, the divine Khatim al-Anbiya. So if you ask, like, who is Muhammad? Bro, Muhammad is everything that's good, everything that's
Ashraf al-Khalq, bro.
Yeah.
Nabi al-Rahmah. Like, there's nothing that we can get from any of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam which does not come from Rasulullah Muhammad salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi. And everything which we see, and you know, obviously the tradition of Mawlid al-Nabi, it has been celebrated for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Of course, the sad part, the unfortunate part is that in parts of the world today, it's considered a bid'ah, it's considered an innovation which we dismiss. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the majority of Muslims dismiss. It's only in the last couple of hundred years, really, where you've had a very strong push and propaganda from literalist, fundamentalist Wahhabism, which has tried to downplay the landmark event of Milad al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I think it's ironic, because if you look at early Islamic literature, Sunni or Shia,
Yes.
so if you look at, for example, in Shia books, Shaykh al-Mufid has a book, Milad al-Nabi Asfiya wal-Awsiya, is translated by Najashi. Or for example, the Sunni school of thought has Jalaluddin al-Suyuti has a book talking about the qualities, the birth and the qualities of Rasulullah Muhammad. These are books which are historic, classical books, Sunni and Shia. You look at, for example, earlier dates in history, there were treaties which were signed on Milad al-Nabi as a day of recognition, where Muslims celebrate peace and where we celebrate the qualities, the ideals that Rasulullah brought and he brought. So I think it's very, very hypocritical for Muslims around the world when they read the Holy Quran and they read, for example, Surah Maryam, where Allah says that salam on the day of the birth of Yahya, which is amazing. Subhanallah. Like, if you're going to look at, is the birth of any prophet mentioned anywhere in the Quran? You don't look at hadith first, you look at the Quran first, of course, yeah? The birth of Yahya is talked about in Surah Maryam. And then later in Surah Maryam, Nabi Isa alayhi salam says, salam on the day I was born.
Yes.
So you have Allah saying salam on the day Yahya was born, alayhi salam, and salam on the day Isa was born, alayhi salam, which is mentioned by Isa himself in the Holy Quran. So these are just occasions which are proofs that this, of course, and obviously it goes without saying in Sunni traditions, although we have a difference in the day he was born, the Sunnis say that Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was born on a Monday, and in their traditions they say he fasted every single Monday to honor that. In the same way, for example, Jum'ah is on a Friday because that's the birth of Nabi Adam alayhi salam. So there's so many things to take note of here, and I first want to get that out of the way, because there are just like a plethora of people online who dismiss this huge occasion with just brainless, mindless propaganda, and just, you know, accepting what in their minds may make sense, or they see a so-called imam spewing this nonsense and they just accept it mindlessly.
Well, I don't think they've, I think, fully understood what the celebration is about.
Yeah.
I don't understand, how can you not celebrate the life and be joyous about the life of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he represented the best of the very best?
Yeah.
Yani, if we want to look at the best of character, we find it in Muhammad. The best of speech, we find it in Muhammad. The best of akhlaq, we find it in Muhammad.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, my point is, like, if you claim you love Rasulullah and he is the best of creation,
Yeah.
how can you say celebrating his auspicious birth is a bit... It's not a conversation I want to get into.
It's been had hundreds of times.
I don't think we even need to have those discussions.
Yeah.
As Shia, we're comfortable where we are. We know what we're doing is legit. It's within, you know, what's allowed.
There's positive say to take from it, bro. Like Ayatollah Montavri, rahmatullah alayh, said that this is a week of unity between the Sunni and the Shia. And of course, we've said many times before that it's an opportunity for us to all come together and look, historically speaking, what do you do on Milad al-Nabi? Of course you celebrate this, that, but we reflect on the origins of the Holy Prophet's nur, like the nur that existed before his appearance on this earth in a physical form. Do you know what I mean? And that nur is something which makes up, of course, from Shia belief, it is, when we say Rahmatul lil Alameen, which you mentioned very rightly, it goes beyond the mercy that he said through his words and his conduct. It's beyond that. It's Rahmatul lil Alameen, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth for the love of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You know what I mean? And that's something which is so important for us to bear in mind, because we owe our existence, we owe our religion, we owe our purpose, our deen, our whole priority system. You know, the consciousness of where we came from and where we're going to came from the revelation that came to Habibullah.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And that is something that's so important to us. So if we fail to recognize, especially that concept of nur in this week, I feel like we've really missed a massive opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I understand, but I think let's dig a bit deeper, Ahmed.
All right.
I think, like, you know, if we aspire and want to live up to certain standards as Muslims, inshallah, I mean, we have to take life lessons from his life, you know, from his seerah, from his sunnah, and we can look at, for example, how he was with marriages, how he was with the people, with the community, with non-Muslims. Like, he has a significant role of how we can best implement our lives to live the best Muslims. Sahih. And you know, something for me that stands out is, for example, him being Al-Sadiq, Al-Amin.
Yeah.
And perhaps I can get into that in a short
What
while.
does that mean for people who don't know?
Sadiq Al-Amin means the most trusted one.
Truthful and
And
trustworthy.
the most truthful one. So
Yeah.
Al-Sadiq, the truthful one, Al-Amin, the trustworthy
Can
one.
I just say, sorry, we should have mentioned it earlier, but of course this is also the week we celebrate the birth of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq,
Alayhi
salam.
afdalus salati
Also born on
wassalam.
17th Rabi'ul Awwal, as was I, believe it or not, 17th Rabi'ul
Beautiful.
Awwal, which is why I'm called Ahmed. So I had to mention that. But yeah, sorry bro.
That's amazing.
Not that it's important, we're talking about Rasulullah and our sixth holy Imam.
Bro, this is vital. كلنا محمد أولنا محمد أوسطنا
This is- I was
محمد
going to
آخرنا
mention this
محمد
later.
فكلنا محمد صلوا على محمد
صل على
اللهم
محمد
صل
وعلى
على
محمد.
محمد
أحسنتم.
And that's the beauty of the Ahlulbayt. Like even when you look at them, from the first Imam to Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallah Ta'ala Farajah Sharif, they all go back to Rasulullah. So coming back to the point of him being given the title Al-Sadiq Al-Amin, which we said Al-Sadiq means the truthful one, Al-Amin means the trustworthy one. And this was a title that was attributed to him before he even announced his prophethood, which is shocking, surprising. And it's something, a lesson that we can learn from, that if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before he even taught Islam, had these principles, had these morals, had these attributes of what makes you a good man, this is something we can look into. And what I like about this title, being a Sadiq al-Amin, by the way, is that Rasulullah was someone, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that even his enemies, even those that didn't like him, even those that didn't like who this Muhammad was, you know, changing the hearts of people in Mecca, for example,
Yeah.
they would throw, a'udhu billah, sometimes stones and rocks at him. They will still trust their amanat and their goods with Rasulullah.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that we can anger him, we can disrespect him, but leave our goods with him, and know full well that when we come back, we'll receive everything the same way that we gave it to him. It comes back to us. And that's, bro, that's something unique. That's something we have to think about. And when we say Al-Sadiq Al-Amin, that means we also have to be Sadiq.
Yeah.
We also have to be truthful in our lives. We also have to be trustworthy in our lives. Yani, when we deep it and think about it, the way we live our lives, I think, is far away from what Rasulullah taught us.
Of course.
Yani, if we say he was As-Sadiq, that means he didn't lie. That means he doesn't lie. And lying doesn't exist in the encyclopedia of any Muslim.
Yeah.
And but here, left, right, and center, we're lying to our family members, we're lying to our circle of friends, we're lying to community members. People go as far as lying to governments. People, you know, cheating, bro, cheating, the benefit system for financial gain, bro. All of this, there's hisab and kitab for.
Yeah,
if we say we are the lovers of Rasulullah and the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen, bro, we're far away from this. The lovers of Rasulullah and the Shia, they don't lie. The lovers of Rasulullah and the Shia, they don't cheat. The lovers of Rasulullah and Ali ibn Abi Talib, what do? Bro, they're far away from that which is haram.
Yeah.
They don't eat, they don't watch, they don't consume, they don't listen to haram. Are we doing this? That's, I think when we say As-Sadiq Al-Amin and we just throw it out there, that's something we need to.
Yeah, no,
deep.
it goes without saying.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and we've talked a lot in the past about the makaram al-akhlaq purpose, and that was the USP for Islam. Ironically, in a world and at a time which lacked morals and which lacked respect, I think, for people, and they saw this man, and he was raised in a desert. He was raised as an orphan. His father died while his mother was pregnant. His mother died when he was a child. He was raised by his nurse in outside the city, and he comes back, and the other schools of Islam say that he was ummi in the sense that he was illiterate, which of course we disagree with, and that is something which I understand from a human perspective, that they see this guy come and he has the best of akhlaq, he has knowledge beyond understanding, he has strength, he has speech qualities, he has all of these amazing attributes which we find in the stories of the prior prophets, all of the attributes, you know, the strength, the forbearance, the patience, the leadership skills. And then he comes out and he publicly declares his revelation.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the key differences here are, we believe as the Shia that the Holy Prophet was born a prophet, he was prophet before he was born, and that he was aware of this. And it was just a time and a place where he waited for the command, for the instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the Holy Quran and the first revelation was given to him. He then publicly declared this, and then obviously there was a strategic and divine, plan in terms of how he came about doing this. But everything he did was done with the intent of etiquette.
Yes.
Which is completely true in terms of what you're saying. So I think that is the ultimate reasoning as to why Islam spread so vastly in the first however many years. When he was in Mecca, he only amassed 100 or 150 companions before the Hijrah. And you think that, subhanAllah, that is not a massive number, you know, but the quality of the majority of those companions were second to none. And that is because they saw his sincerity. And then, of course, when he migrated, he managed to reach a larger number of people. So it's very important for us to think about these. There's a lot of, I think, from what I want to mention, there's so many distinctions between our perspective on the Holy Prophet Muhammad and the other schools of thought. And ultimately, like I said, we all obviously revere the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He is, of course, the pillar of our entire faith. And in our Muslim belief, he's the pillar of the whole of existence. But it's a very important discussion to have, yeah.
No, it definitely is indeed. And you mentioned that point of him being illiterate.
Yeah.
A'udhu billah, you know, astaghfirullah, for anyone who comes with this false accusation and claim. And I think
it's a misinterpretation of the Quran.
It is a misinterpretation, because like if we go back to our literature, our hadiths, in the Shia school of thought, the school of Ahlulbayt, we have Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, where they speak about this term of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam being ummi, being illiterate, where they disenounce this and they say no, this means he has a nisbah to al-Qura, which means that what ummi means is that he is basically a Meccan. You know, he's from the land of Mecca, and anyone who claims that Rasulullah was illiterate is cursed. Yani and that's something we need to factor in, that how can Rasulullah be illiterate if revelation was sent down to him?
Yeah.
How can Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam be illiterate if the book of Allah, the Quran, was given to him? And on top of that, he'd read treaties, he'd sign treaties.
Of course, yeah.
Yani
logically speaking,
come on, bro, it doesn't make sense. And I think it's a disrespect.
The dictation, of course, it's disrespect.
Yeah.
There's dictation of the Holy Quran, dictated the Quran to his companions, including Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, who we believe was the first and most prominent of those who were present and scribed the Holy Quran. Yeah. And something important to note is, how would that, of course we believe Amir al-Mu'mineen was infallible, but for anyone else, how would the Holy Prophet be able to fact check this? Do you know what I mean? In the same way, the treaties and all of the letters and all of these things which we talk about in our hadith, they wouldn't make sense if he couldn't be able to read or write.
There's even a narration where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with Abu Bakr and with Umar, for example, and he was going over the verse, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ, and he wrote it with his hands in the sands. And so you're telling me that means what? Rasulullah doesn't know how to read and write?
That's a good point.
I mean, there's a lot of things to ponder on and think about, that, you know, when we open up our literature, be it Sunni or Shia books, whatever it is, yeah, bro, if it doesn't make sense, how can you... Yani, my point is, if God is telling you he's the best of creation, what makes you think that he has an iota of something
of flaw?
Of flaw.
Yeah.
Yani, alhamdulillah, as Shia, in the school of Ahlulbayt, as Shia Muslims, we are proud to say Rasulullah is ma'soom.
Mutlaq.
He
absolute level of
infallibility. Sinless,
no hesitation,
errorless,
yeah.
made no mistake.
Yeah.
And the sad reality is that even though this was apparent, like people know that Rasulullah is sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there's no flaw, you can't find any flaw. Even the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. Find me one place where you can find flaw. I'm not talking about distorted Islamic history. Sometimes you can open up, for example, the books of Bukhari and you see Rasulullah was bewitched. Astaghfirullah. You open up Bukhari and see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was inflicted by black magic. Bro.
And so I mean,
and
as far as I'm aware, in Shia books, there's attempts of it, but it never reached the Holy Prophet because of obviously his divine protection. But even like you're saying in Bukhari, we talked about this yesterday on the group chat, that the number of times narrated by Aisha that he would be very close to, as the hadith says, throwing himself off a cliff.
Yeah, so Rasulullah was suicidal.
Yeah, because of the weight of revelation and the period in which he did not. There was a period where he did not receive revelation, and according to that hadith, it talks about him feeling so depressed that he wanted to throw himself off a cliff. And it says on numerous occasions, well, it doesn't make sense to us. Of course it doesn't make sense, because just logically speaking, this is the prime example. We said earlier, when we say that he is Ashraf al-Khalq, he's the most noble of creation, it's a flaw. It's completely a flaw. It's something which denotes mental health issues. And that's not something we believe the Holy Prophet could have. And there's various other ways in which I believe the school of the Ahlulbayt of Islam revere the Prophet unlike anyone else.
That's
Firstly,
very true. Yeah.
When we say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what do we usually do? Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is the only school of thought which does salawat. Every time you go to the mosque, you hear the names not only of the Holy Prophet, but of his lineage and his A'imma alayhi salam who preceded him, or succeeded him rather. Those are ways in which we bless the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Not just that. This is Milad al-Nabi. We go to his sorry bro?
Sorry, go on.
Yes. And that's another one. We don't say sallallahu. We say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Ali's laughing. Why? No, because we saw a video of this professor, Shia professor. I'm not going to say his name, but he made a very good point. He said that it's a disrespect to say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as a Sunni scholar or as a Sunni, and not to say it with proper dictation, proper makhraj. Rather, he says, you see on YouTube, brother, they say the Prophet sallallahu like, come on, bro. Beyond that, okay, Milad al-Nabi, okay, you said you go to the mosque. Wafat al-Nabi, Shahadat Rasulullah, where are you? You're in the mosque. Right? This is not something we see in other schools of thought. The infallibility, we believe it being absolute, complete infallibility. Not excuses or exceptions for minor errors or difficulties or times where he may have done a loophole, or there was another hadith in Bukhari which was mentioned last night in our group chat, that there were times where Rasulullah would enter the mosque implying that he was in a state of janaba, which would make no sense, of course, or that he had impure clothes. And these kind of things are not, they don't agree with us. But obviously we're not here to talk about the flaws. We're here to talk about the amazing attributes, the honors of someone who we believe came as the representative of Allah's complete and final religion on earth, and he left us the whole toolkit there ready. I was actually speaking to a brother from another school of thought a few days ago. He mentioned to me, he said, you're telling me that he's rahmatul lil alameen, but he didn't give rahmah to his companions when it came to successor. In my opinion, the whole definition of rahmatul lil alameen is on us to accept and to allow it to enter our hearts. Because I refuse to accept his rahmah doesn't mean he's not rahmatul lil alameen. Do you see what I mean? If the Holy Prophet came, he said, he spoke, and he actioned certain things, it's on me to accept that with a whole heart, an open heart. Do you see what I mean? So I think that there's so much knowledge and wisdom to gain from him, and knowledge and wisdom is like just the bare minimum, bro. We're talking about salvation, and we're talking about reward, we're talking about intercession, we're talking about the Holy Prophet being amongst him in the akhirah. Like, these are things which are far beyond our comprehension.
Allah, imagine being there at the pool of Kawthar, alongside Rasulullah.
It's like you can't wrap your head around these things, man.
Speaking about, like, we've referenced this so much now, rahmatun lil alameen, rahmatun lil alameen. If Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the mercy to mankind, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jalla is arhamar rahimin. Ahsant. Bro, we have the best of both worlds. God the most merciful, Rasulullah the mercy to mankind, and we can't be merciful with one another. Like, look at the emphasis of the word mercy, rahmah. Bro, it's great, and what's shocking is that we can't be merciful with our neighbors, we can't be merciful with our children. There's a hadith once speaking about the mercy on children. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in a narration, he kissed Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and a man came to him and he was like, you kissed your grandchild. I have 7 sons, I've never kissed him. 7 sons. Rasulullah goes, like, bow we home to you. Like, how can you not show any mercy? You'll be questioned on this on the day of judgment, that you showed no mercy, no affection, no love to your children. The emphasis of rahmah and mercy on everyone, be it your family members, be it your community members, and I say neighbors, because when non-Muslims look at me, when non-Muslims look at you, look at Sayyid Mushtaba, look at all the previous guests we've had on After Maghrib podcast, every single Muslim out there, you represent the mercy to mankind, who is Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and you're an ambassador to this faith, to this deen, to this religion, Islam.
Have you heard that thing Sayyid Mustafa Qazwini said?
What did he say?
I remember I heard a lecture from Sayyid Mustafa Qazwini, and he was mentioning how he was giving a conference somewhere, and a brother came to him who was not Muslim and spoke to him like in the hotel lobby. Well, he didn't look Muslim, like he was native, he was like a white American Christian looking guy, and he basically told he told Sayyid Mustafa, I want to convert. And he said, why? He said, well, I was at home one day and I was with my wife, and we had a knock on the door, and I had an Arab guy at my door with a plate of food. He goes, here, have some food. He goes, who are you? I'm your neighbor, I've just moved here. So the guy was like, okay, whatever. He said he took the plate, he threw it in the bin. Basically, after the guy gave him the food, he came, he threw it in the bin. He's like, this Arab guy thinks we're homeless or we don't have food. So the next day, the same thing happened. The same guy came back. He came this time with his father, and they gave him food. And this American guy is like, why is this guy consistently giving us his food? I'm not homeless. I'm offended. So he said, look, we're your neighbors. He goes, it's our tradition. He goes, I know you're not, because he kept saying, I'm not hungry, I don't want your food. He said, I know you're not hungry, but it's our tradition to feed our neighbors. He said, why? He said, this is a month of Ramadan when this happened. He goes, in our tradition, we give food to our neighbors. He says, what religion are you? He said, Islam. He goes, I want to understand more, come in. So the guy came in with his father and sat down, and they started talking. One thing led to another, to the point where then he found it in his heart to convert. And we see, this is why we have obviously a lot of respect for our revert brothers and sisters, because we see that there's a pure openness to learning, whether you come from another school of thought within Islam or even outside of the fold of Islam. But the non-bias, the non-judgmentalism, and the willingness to be open is just amazing, especially when we live in a world where everything is demonized when it comes to the Holy Prophet. Muhammad fought with the sword, and he spread Islam by the sword, and Muhammad was this, and I can't even say some of the words that they say on the podcast. But
I would say Islam was spread by the sword, but not the sword of Rasul Allah. Anyhow.
I mean, look, what did we see? Just at the beginning, we'll just say something. What did Rasulullah said? If it were not for two things, Islam would have perished. What is it? The wealth of
Khadija
and the
sword of Ali
alayhi salam.
Allahumma
salli
ala.
Do you know what I mean? So if there's positive spreading by military means, it's from Ibn al-Mu'mineen under the leadership of Rasulullah.
And you mentioned that story with the Sayyid Mustafa al-Qazwini and this revert brother that became Muslim. That goes to the point that I'm trying to tell you, that if we sort of represent Rasulullah and our ambassadors to Islam, when they see the actions we do, if we do good, they say amazing. If we do bad, they say this is what their prophet taught them. This is what their religion tells them to do.
How many times have you ever had that situation where you, like I had a majlis in my house in Muharram, which I know unfortunately you weren't there because you were not able to make it.
I was there in heart and spirit.
Inshallah next year. No, but I remember I had to let my neighbors know. It's like, I've got friends coming over, we're just going to do a small thing, this, that. So I posted it on the WhatsApp chat.
For the area.
For the area, the group. And my immediate next door neighbors, I know them, both Indian brothers. I told them, and they said, yeah, that's fine, this, that. People left, right, and center started offering their driveways.
Beautiful.
I was like, wow. People I'd never spoken to, 15 houses down, saying, if you need to park, feel free. I was like, that's so sweet. Like, I'm doing a majlis for Abu Abdullah, and these guys don't know what I'm doing. Offering the house. And then in return, after the majlis, we brought them a plate of food. We said, thank you so much, this, that. They were so grateful. I was thinking, subhanAllah, this is, there's something special about the neighbor relationship. Do you know what I mean?
There is, and there's emphasis on it through all the Anbiya. Like even, for example, Isa alayhi salam, tells you look after your neighbors. Rasulullah, bro, Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we know the very famous story of al-jar thumma ad-dar. It plays a very critical role in terms of whether it's, showing them, guiding them towards Islam through your actions, through your akhlaq, through your mannerism. And this all goes to show that the emphasis of being kind with your neighbors is seen everywhere, and not just with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Even if we go back to the other prophets of God, Isa alayhi salam, he tells be kind and love your neighbors. Rasulullah emphasized, and even I think there was a narration actually, in fact, where as a Muslim you shouldn't just know your next door neighbor. You should, I think it was, no, 7 houses down each way, so left, right, forward and back. And that's how much neighbor relations are emphasized. And even if we say we're Shia, we learn from the daughter of Rasul Allah, Fatima al-Zahra, Sayyidatina Nisa al-Alamin alayhi salam, where very famously, you know, the stories of al-jar thumma ad-dar, and how she looked after all the neighbors. Like even during the months of Ramadan, when they'll be fasting, neighbors will come in and ask for food and she'll give it to them. Would we do that?
Yeah.
I don't think we can do that. We may share a bread with them, you know, perhaps give them leftovers, but would we ever really give our whole family a meal?
Yeah.
To our needy neighbors, for example. So when's the last time we went to our neighbors as Muslims, Zian, knocked on the door and said, how are you guys doing? Do you guys need anything? Can we assist you with anything? You know how much times I've had, I think, especially at workplace, I have a good relationship with the neighborhood. You know, I've been there for many, many years, and we've had numerous interactions. And there's always a point where I say, where I really wish they ask me about Islam. They don't, and they love me, alhamdulillah. But they love me. Why? Not because
you're you.
I look like a good guy. No, because I think I try to be the best with them.
Bro, that's the best form of
And the fact that they're not Muslim, like even when new neighbors move in, they speak good of me.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So, not because I'm a good person, I try to be a good person,
No.
but this is because I know this is the akhlaq we need to have as Muslims.
Of course, 100%. And when you go out there and you've got names like Ahmed and Ali, for example, Ahmed and Ali, and you're representing Islam, it's obvious. Like, you know, the guy's called Ahmed and he's got a beard, and Ali's got a beard, and, you know, they have a certain mannerism about them, and, you know, they look and sound Muslim, and obviously you're Muslim. Do you know what I mean?
You know, half the time that, well, not half the time, maybe quarter of the time, that sometimes I go above and beyond of what I think is expected of us as Muslims, and someone will tell me, bro, Ali, why you like that? Like, why you're overdoing it? I'm like, not overdoing it. This is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, if you want to be generous, don't just be generous. No, take it up a notch.
Yeah.
You know, like from things like this.
Where he said that, he goes, whatever's expected of you to give, go above and beyond that.
Yeah.
He paid his workers above what they agreed with him. You know, these are kind of things we should emulate. I just want to mention a couple of things that were sent in to us. We had like loads of people as usual. Thank you, Mandem, for sending stuff in, brothers and sisters. But we had a few points sent in to us, which I really appreciate. The one point which I really liked from a brother called Hadi, I believe. He mentioned, I don't know the reference, but it's Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam saying to his companions how the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is aware of his ummah's private sins and gets anxious when they're presented to him. When you really think about it, his entire life is a struggle in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah takes his soul, which is usually the greatest gift for a believer, but for him, he still worries for his ummah. From life to death and until the day of judgment, he's in a state of worry for his people. Even when he reaches the pond of Kawthar, we inshallah will have our thirst quenched from the cup from his hand. All he has ever done is to serve and worry for his people, and it's outstanding how we as the Shia don't talk about it enough. There's some other points. I had a family member mention to me that specifically, they said, if you want to understand how great the Rasulullah Muhammad is sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, look at his daughter Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha, Sayyidatina Nisa al-Alamin. We say what? Fatima wa abuha wa ba'laha wa banuha. Like, the whole world revolves around Sayyidah Fatima, and I really believe that. You know, it's the queen of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, the queen of existence. The most beloved of our most beloved is Sayyidah Fatima.
She's so beloved to God that what pleases her pleases Allah, and what angers her angers Allah.
And it's, bro, it's just mind-blowing to think that Allah loved her so much because the Prophet loved her, right? And vice versa. And that Allah chose her to be the focal point of the lineage of Rasulullah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we say in our ziyarat that the Holy Prophet came from a pure lineage. You know, unlike other schools, they say that the lineage of the Holy Prophet, his parents were mushrikeen or kuffar. Come on, bro. Like, the parents of the Holy Prophet were Hanifs, as we say. You know, from Adam alayhi salam, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam, and this covenant which I give you, there will be no one that follows you in your lineage which will be unjust, as Allah says in the Holy Quran to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Sorry, I said Adam before, I meant Ibrahim. It's very important to understand that when it reaches Rasulullah, you've reached like the pinnacle of Tawheed, right? Understanding, manifesting Tawheed, Mawahid in its purest form. And that one individual, the family tree goes like this, it thins and it slims down to one person, Rasulullah, and then it continues like that. And that point of growth comes from Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. Do you know what I mean? Until the Day of Judgment, until Imam al-Mahdi, who's named of course after Rasulullah Muhammad.
And you know, like how great is Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he had an immaculate progeny, the Ahlulbayt alayhim afdal as-salati wa azka as-salam, that not just Rasulullah is rahmatun lil alameen, but his very own daughter, Fatima al-Zahra, is Sayyidati Nisa'il Alameen, the leader of the women of the worlds. Not just that, she's given the title of being one of the 4 best women on this earth. From
not just one of, the greatest of
the greatest of the 4. Sorry. And
no, you're right, 100%.
And Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi afdal as-salatu was-salam, the prince of believers, the command of the faithful, his grandchildren, Imam al-Hasan wa Imam al-Hussein, Sayyidi Shababi Ahlil Jannah, the masters of the youth of paradise. Come on, bro.
That's who the Holy Prophet surrounded himself with.
Brother.
And if Allah wanted to honor the Prophet,
honestly,
he would surround him with the people that he loved in immediate form, especially. And that, you know, there's no impurity that can ever reach the inbounds, the inner circle of the Holy Prophet.
And you know that connection, sorry Ahmed, you know that connection between Rasulullah and his Ahlulbayt was so great, so immense, that if you open up Hadith al-Kisa and you read you know what took place and the words of, for example, lahmuhum lahmi wa damuhum dami, you know, things like this, their blood is Rasulullah saying, my Ahlul Bayt,
it keeps going.
You know when I say hold on to the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt, these are my Ahlul Bayt, their blood is my blood, their flesh is my flesh, what pleases them pleases me, what angers them angers me, what hurts them hurts me. You know, I am at war with those who are at war with them. Yani when your prophet, my prophet, Ahmed's prophet, 1.3 or 1.2 billion Muslims around the world, when your prophet says, I am at war with those who are at war with my Ahlul Bayt, explain to me the beginning of Saqifa, the house of Fatima, the wars of Siffin, the wars of Jamal, Karbala, Ashura. Bro, I think every Muslim should understand something. That when Rasulullah says, hold on to my Ahlul Bayt, hold on to them, bro. Why ignore him? He said, I leave behind the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. He didn't say, I leave behind the Quran and Bukhari, for example. Think about it. That's all I say. Wallah, I say with an open heart. I'm not here to like make fun of other people, because I genuinely believe, being here on this podcast, I don't want to ever say I'm doing da'wah, but I think it's a form of where we try to open people's minds and hearts,
bro, we're trying to
the haqq. And Rasulullah wants us all to be on haqq, and he says the haqq is with Ali. Khalas.
And bro, I think that, you know, we mentioned this, and I don't know if it's coming out probably by the time this releases the next day, inshallah. I think there's a podcast coming out on Jumu'ah nights, but there's a point that's mentioned in that podcast about the weight of hadith in the Shia school of thought way more than, for example, other schools of thought. And the reason being is that our hadith were fact checked. The mass majority of our hadith were fact checked by the A'immah alayhim as-salam. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, who wrote a book of hadith, one of the A'immah, I believe it might have been Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, I may be wrong, but check that book, and said that, may Allah bless Yunus, from cover to cover, everything surely that's written is from my fathers. You think, subhanAllah, like that is just nuts. Like our hadith and our books, we believe hold gravitas. Do you know what I mean? There's actual there's a high chance of it being legitimate because they were recorded and written and fact-checked at the time of the Ahlulbayt themselves, who we believe are themselves possess divine knowledge.
And brother, these are narrations from the very own people that Rasulullah said hold on to.
Yeah, bro. It's like it's one and the same, innit? So, do you don't get me? So I think it's, bro, it's lost for words, man.
Yeah.
Inshallah, like our ultimate goal, our aim is to make the Holy Prophet proud, to be beside him,
of course,
to follow in his footsteps. And I think, bro, from a personal perspective, in the last maybe week or two, my own dua has been to try and find like clarity and conviction and more, not, I don't say always more certainty, but just being 1,000,000% certain that I'm heading in the right direction, because we only have limited time on this earth, bro.
That's so
and
true.
the idea being is that, like, I don't want to realize like 5 years down the line my mentality is wrong. Like, okay, fine, I might be doing my amal, and you know, Imam Jawad alayhi salam has this hadith where he says along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, that it's there's no point tiring yourself out with physical rituals, i.e. like, you know, salah and this and that and fasting, when your heart is not open to the truth. And it's important for us to remember that, like, we may be doing the right things ritualistically, but if our heart is not open and if we're not intent on finding haqq, we won't get it. So you get me? So we have to pray and we have to research.
And you know, speaking about, you know, religion is not all about action. I think it's also about reflection. And very famously, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, an hour of reflection is greater than or equal to 70 years of worship.
Yeah.
Yani, brother, at the end of the day, our Prophet, our beloved messenger, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, use your aql, use your brain. Allah gave us intellect, Allah gave us free will, and I think we need to maximize on that. For example, let's reflect on what we're doing every day. Let's reflect on what we read. Let's reflect on what we say, what we want. You know, the same way we plan our financial gains, for example, the same way we plan our future, whether it's buying a house, whether it's improving ourselves in the workplace to excel in our career, the same thing has to be done with our religion. And not just through action, but through how we carry ourselves.
Those two things you mentioned, aql and free will, are the two greatest gifts that Allah has given insan, and which separates us from the animals.
Ahsan.
Do you know what I mean? And if we don't make the most of it or recognize that, then we're equal to animals, basically. It's as simple as that. And you give something to someone, they you know what I mean? You might be a homeless guy. If I give you keys to a house but you don't use it, you're still homeless. Do you know what I mean? It's the exact same thing. So it's pointless otherwise. We've got gifts from Allah. We've got gifts upon gifts upon gifts. We have aql and reason to rationalize and to reflect and to use then our free will to do the right things, and we don't. So inshallah khair, we'll get there, inshallah. Any notes, anything at all that you want to say to after Maghrib viewers? Because I feel like there's bullet points in my mind.
Okay.
It's off topic, on topic.
Anything I want to say as in relating
like
to
that, on topic,
Allah?
off topic, كيفك.
Kefi, go first.
I just want to say I love you guys. You're the best in the world. I really appreciate it if you subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to keep it going.
We're 1,000 off 10K.
We're nearly at 10K. When we do 10K, we're gonna do a world tour. I'm joking. No, inshallah. No, but that would be a great achievement, inshallah, when we hit 10,000 subscribers. Considering where we started, I remember when we hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. I remember how excited I was.
We're now just below 40, right?
On 40 on Instagram, 40 on TikTok. Yeah, so that's nothing. 60% of viewers have subscribed. 60.
Yeah, the other 40% of viewers.
I think it's less than 60, you know. We'll have to check, but it's definitely not like a massive amount. Yeah. Most people who watch don't subscribe. But to those who do, and those who are, like, there's certain people who week in, week out have been messaging us for years, like with their feedback and with their reflections on each episode. I love those people.
You are like about, I think we can call them like family, like
literally,
you know, the audience that alhamdulillah we have built through the barakat and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal, is that it keeps me in check, Ahmed. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes, like, if they have a question,
or
they engage and share like an opinion or a suggestion, or perhaps, you know, allude to things that we possibly said incorrectly, or, you know, tell us what we should discuss on things, and that's like, makes me think, bro, there is so much in this world. Yeah, like it never ends. Islam and religion and iman and faith, and it makes you question. Like, for example, if we as Muslims, everyone can say La ilaha illallah, right? Everyone can, you know, say a shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and they can die a Muslim.
Yeah.
But bro, we need to be dying as mu'mineen. We need to be dying as believers, and there's a difference. That you can die on Islam or you can die on iman.
You know, last week Al-Sadiq was talking about self-help books. Okay. You don't need self-help books, you've got to say We're not
By the way,
Muslimin. We should be mu'mineen.
the episode by
love
Sadiq Damani, wallah, was phenomenal. It's
Yeah, it was
amazing.
wicked,
I
wasn't it? It
learned
was
so
really good.
much, and I even messaged him on WhatsApp, and I was like, bro, you've made me question my
whole
life, purpose of life,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But alhamdulillah.
My sister messaged me. She was like, you know, you put that reel out, you guys, saying that most people haven't found their purpose yet. She was like, Ahmed, have you found yours yet? I was like, leave me alone, bro.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. I told her, I was like, we have to. That episode was, as all episodes are, it was really a catalyst. You know, there's been certain episodes over the last 2 years or so, which like really stand out to me as like they're deeply ingrained in my memory. Certain discussions we've had, certain guests we've had, certain questions that have been asked or answers that have been given, which have shaped me as a person. Facts. 100%. There's things that I remember, episodes I remember, which have shaped me as a person. And I don't think any of that would have come without you guys. So thank you. Wallah al-Alim. Like, we are very privileged, we're very lucky, we're very honoured. I think thanks to you, we've been honoured to do some great work. We haven't actually mentioned it on the podcast yet, but we came back obviously a few weeks ago now, but from the Ziyarat of Arba'in. We had the opportunity to work with Al-Ataba al-Abbasiyya, which of course is their greatest honor. I really believe to work with the Ataba in our field of like Shia media is probably the highest it gets.
The custodians of the shrine of Al-Abbas.
Ahsant, yeah. And it's the highest honor you can get to work with any of the shrines and any of their media departments in our small little work in, you know, northwest London in Shia media. It's a great honor. And obviously we're really grateful for that. So thank you everyone at home, because you supported us. You've given us the opportunity to then put our work out and then serve.
I would say thank you for trusting us in producing this content.
Yeah.
And I say that for one particular reason, Ahmed, and it's something I've been thinking about quite a lot, is that, you know, there are, alhamdulillah, many organizations within the Western world in the school of the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam, but many of them, if I can be real, they all have at times perhaps agendas, at times perhaps a narrative, at times, you know, the thing I'm trying to say is that I think what After Maghrib is here about, be it the podcast or Jum'ah nights and inshallah all the upcoming shows that we produce here, is that it's for every love of the Ahlul Bayt. It's not for one particular thought, one particular opinion, one particular viewpoint of life, or whether you follow this guy or go to this mosque. No,
doesn't matter.
Inshallah, After Maghrib is for everyone who's a Muslim.
Yeah.
Even non-Shia.
And we are, bro, like, for those who don't know, and we said this before, and we'll say it again, we're not funded by anyone. We're not paid by anyone. We're not...
we're funded by Allah.
We're funded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think, like, we have to really ingrain in ourselves.
And we're paid in the afterlife, inshallah.
Inshallah. And we're just trying to do a khidmah. And that's the important thing. Do you know what I mean? And we've had people... so cheesy. And we've had people, you know, obviously, who've come on the podcast who have different points of view, come from different communities and stuff like that.
That's what's amazing, is that we are all here together under the umbrella of, you know how we say Hubb al-Husayn yajma'una? You know, the love of Hussein unites us, bro. The love of Ahlul Bayt unites us.
Ahsant.
And that's something I think to be grateful for and thankful for. And I really hope, Ahmed, that we have the opportunity, inshallah, to go to Medina. Go to Medina and visit Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Masjid al-Nabawi, and inshallah we have his shafa'ah and intercession, not just for us, inshallah everyone listening out there.
Where else would you go in Medina?
Tell me.
Jannat al-Baqi, bro. Of course, especially we're talking about Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam, and we have to, inshallah, you know, there's a lot of
Allah, the Ahlul Bayt was so oppressed. Not even the Ahlul Bayt, Rasulullah himself would say,
on all of the,
you know, Rasulullah himself would say, there hasn't been a prophet that's more oppressed than me.
Bro.
Anyhow, inshallah, we leave these discussions for perhaps different episodes where we get into more detail about perhaps the oppression, the misinterpretation, the misinformation about Rasulullah. And I think it's you know how similar how Muharram and Safar we focused on, like, what was the Tawheed of Imam al-Hussein that sort of set the tone of all the episodes we did. I think there should be, inshallah, something similar for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Yeah. Sick.
But forgive me.
Why?
Because Rasulullah forgives everyone.
Yeah.
Allah's Arham Ar-Rahimin.
Say, I forgive you all.
Honestly.
He's your grandfather. What can I say?
No, the reason why I say forgive me, I think I've been, no way.
You don't forgive me, but you
I only forgive you if you forgive me. I don't forgive you because you're Khoja. Khojas are known to be on time.
Yeah, I'm not forgiving. I'm trying to predict when you're coming as an Iraqi, so I can match you and be on time with you.
I know you try to get her on time. I know that for a fact. But you plan, I plan. Allah's the best of plans.
You know, I always what I tell you. Who was the servant, the companion of Bibi Fatima? Right. What was she known for? Her tongue, all she spoke was Quran. That's it, Ali Radu.
Alhamdulillah, ala kulli hal.
Do you know what I mean? You ask him anything.
No, I'm far away from that.
Bro, how are you feeling today? He says, وَبَشِّرُ الصَّابِرِينَ. That's how he speaks. MashaAllah. Alright guys, we'll leave it there. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. Hopefully, take care. We'll see you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ya Ali Madad.